right, welcome Christ-centered chiropractic. The interesting thing about chiropractic, and really, I suppose, any profession, is the fact that it's all communication. I just went through yesterday, we brought 18 new patients in one day, and it's just okay. How do I win the battle of communication? And battle, sorry for that term, sounds very uh, just confrontive and difficult, but it kind of is. But thankfully, I like the challenges of communication, and I've studied it a lot. And in fact, what I'm going to cover for you on this training right now is what we call the power of the claws, CLAWS. And with the power of the claws, it's all about following a structure. So whether we're talking one-on-one or we're talking to a group, we could just follow down a process that we can trust. For those of you that have struggled with anything in your communication or in your practice, we try to get it down to a number of skill sets. When you start to challenge yourself as maybe not being good enough, where you don't feel capable enough, you look at somebody who's a superstar. You look at a Dr. Rob Schiffman, you look at a Dr. Ray Omid, you look at a Dr. Eric Lerner, and you say to yourself, well, I'm just not them. That's challenging yourself at a level of capability, and it's never capability. It's simply skill set. I just have to learn the skills that they're applying, and I can get the same or similar results. And so let's talk about this skill set of the claws. So the first thing is connect. That's what the C is for. So we see this very clearly when you're doing a one-on-one. Let's say you're doing your day one with a patient, where literally if you put your hands together and you're the right hand and the patient's the left hand, well, often the right hand just keeps going. We just keep going through our process, going through our script, going through the day one, and we've left the person behind. We didn't connect and keep them with us. And this is something to consider through something we've talked about quite a bit before. We have our checkpoints. I've got to make sure as I go through my communication, the person's actually with me. In fact, at the end of day one, we have what we call our VIP, our very important product, the end product. And so I have to know specifically what was I trying to get out of day one. So as I connected and moved through the other letters of the clause here, when I get to the end of day one, they're where I wanted them to be. So as they leave and they go through the process of the front desk would know right away. And the checkpoint there is when the staff says, okay, the doctor needs to see you tomorrow. And the person is hesitant or says, oh, I'm not good till next week or for a few days. We know we didn't really achieve that VIP because they're revealing to us we got disconnected. They did not get out of day one what we needed. And in fact, they're resistant to coming back and seeing their x-rays of their spinal cord. So if this was their toe that they thought they had broken, they would want to come back immediately to see it. Yet we looked at their spinal cord and they're telling you tomorrow's no good. We missed the VIP. We missed that very important product. And it may be because we weren't connected. So how do you connect? You've got to find two things that we're going to cover here just on a group or one-on-one in our communication. One thing with connecting is you've got to find common ground. So when a patient comes in, one of the first things I'm trying to think of is there some way I can connect with them? I actually had a famous professional wrestler come in as one of our new patients yesterday. And so immediately it's like, hey, I used to adjust Kurt Angle, another professional wrestler. I worked with Gable Stevens, another professional wrestler. I was a wrestler. So, I spent all of 7.5 seconds connecting there. He responded, oh, I know Kurt Angle. He's a crazy man. Oh, I know Gable Stevens. Yeah, funny thing is, even though I'm a professional wrestler, I really don't know how to wrestle. And so I didn't wrestle in college like you, but I've always had a lot of respect for college wrestlers. Great, let's get into it. So we're connected now. If I just jumped into it, he's looking at me. I'm a third of his size. We're not even the same beings. We look like from different species. This guy was 3 times my size, and just some little guy comes in and starts doing his day one. We're disconnected. This is not going to work. Another example with a group. One time, my younger brother just got out of school, and we threw him into a group to speak on nutrition to all nurses. And he went in there, and they were all incredibly overweight, and there were donuts on the table. So my brother goes in there with no connection and just says, let me tell you why those donuts are killing you. And they're literally munching on the donuts. So he didn't get more than a fraction of the way through the talk. And it's a talk that has worked for us for many years to get patients in, convert people, build a very big practice from it. But he got through a very small portion of the talk, and they actually threw him out. They asked him to leave because he never connected with the audience. You know, where I would have went and said, I see there's donuts. I love donuts. What flavor is that? Which are your favorites? Great. Well, listen, I got great news, because when we talk nutrition, we don't talk deprivation. I'm not taking anybody's favorite donut away from them. In fact, you know, the way we do it, we take vacation days. So whatever that favorite donut is, we're going to eat it every week if you want to. That's the great news. And I also want to tell you that, you know, my family really struggles with their weight. Like my mom and dad, aunts and uncles, everybody always struggled with it. So I really feel for anybody here who food has just been such a challenge. And so I'm here not to make your life harder to live, but easier to live than it is right now, while improving your nutrition. So I'm going to connect to make sure they're with me and looking forward to what I have to say, and don't feel overburdened and want to throw me out. I want to laugh and talk about our favorite donut and have some fun. And then let's move forward, because I can't just jump right into it. So lots of stories I could tell just on the C, but that's what the C is all about. You know, one last thing I will say, because this is so critical. I've seen people who, the issue they have on day 1, 2, 3, just in converting people, or just even going out and doing a talk, is the person just doesn't like them or think they have compassion or care. They feel like they're caught up in a process. And that really is this lack of making sure we've connected before moving forward, and stay connected through the entire process, whether it's, again, a group and keeping them connected all along the way, or whether it's an individual coming through the process in our office and keeping them connected all the way through. The L is for leverage. What's your leverage? If you've been to an Anthony Robbins seminar, he talks about creating leverage, that if I have enough leverage, I can move the world. And so if I don't have any leverage with somebody, so just going back to those nurses for an example, if they don't care about their weight, they're not concerned, they don't think chiropractic has any value, they don't feel like they've got any health problems, I've got no leverage. They're not interested in what I have to say, nor concerned about their life outcomes if they don't apply what I'm talking about here. So I need some sort of leverage. So one example, and some people call this scare tactics, but if it's done with compassion, it's really not. I don't like people that are worried about scare tactics, simply because it's generally an excuse more than anything not to confront people. Because as a doctor or a leader of any kind, or somebody who's been put in front of somebody to communicate, you've got to have leverage. You've got to push them in a direction. We're not in the bone moving business. We're in the people moving business. We got to move them. And so you need some sort of leverage that's out of truth and compassion. There is this saying that I don't mind if a pastor is preaching fire and brimstone and talking about burning in hell, as long as he does it with a tear in his eye, as long as it's because his heart is broken, because he doesn't want to see me perish for all eternity, but wants to bring me, because he loves me, bring me to eternal life. That sort of person, no matter how much fire and brimstone they preach, it's going to come across well, and I'm going to appreciate it. I've seen the other side of that, where it just seems to be some sort of tool to scare me and leverage me, and it just turns me off. So is our scare tactics a potential thing and an issue? Yes. When you see a degenerative x-ray, you shouldn't be excited that you've got leverage to close them. Your heart should be broken. But yet that is the leverage. They now see they are degenerating, and that's what's going to move them. As an example, getting back to the nurses, so coming from a family of people, again, and I'll share my own personal story with them as a part of connecting and leveraging. You know, my family died early. So, everybody, I never, my kids never met my dad. I never met my parents' dad. I mean, everybody was dying early. So I'm going to talk about that the reason I'm here is because the people I love, the people they love died early. The people I love died early. Like, I want to stop people from dying early, ruined my life to have my dad die at 52 and my mom have a stroke in her 40s and her life was destroyed forever. Like, that's ruined me to this day. And so that's the leverage, is I don't want that to happen to them. And so bottom line is, for people who aren't necessarily worried about nutrition or struggling with it, there's still this reality that if we don't get it under control, this is where it leads. Everything increases in terms of risk when we're over an ideal weight. So again, I don't want to insult anybody or make anybody feel guilty. or like I'm looking down on them from being overweight. It's coming out of compassion and I care about them, but that's the leverage. If you don't do something, breast cancer risks go up 60%, heart disease risks go through the roof. Every disease, the risk is radically increased by being overweight. And so that, that we've got to do something. And so, that is my leverage. When I'm talking to groups, for example, we'll do like a talk to like an assisted living facility. Well, I know they want to be independent. And I know that if they go to a nursing home, the costs go up dramatically in a nursing home. So we're trying to keep them there where there's less cost. They can be independent and still live a life versus being in a wheelchair, pushed down a hallway and staring at the elevator as their activity for the day. We're trying to avoid that and losing their ability to drive and everything else. So if I'm talking to an older group, I'm trying to either keep them out of the assisted living or keep them out of the assisted living or keep them in the assisted living and out of the nursing home. That's my leverage again, both in terms of the cost of that. These things are incredibly expensive and all out of pocket, but also losing your independence and the fact that, that's no way to live. Speaking of my mom, that's how her life ended. And it cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars and it was no way to live. So that's the leverage. So as we get into the A is affirmation. So the idea of this is that they can do it. Like with that group of nurses, if I'm there, okay, so here's the thing. We're cutting out all junk. We're getting rid of sugar. Take those donuts, throw them out. Like if I go in there, they're going to think I can't do it. So the idea is that you can do it. I want to affirm them to help them understand they can make this journey. And one of the best ways to do that is to share testimonies of people who have been where they've been, overcome the obstacles they've had trouble overcoming through my efforts, through what I'm showing them and what we do in our clinic. This is a lot of how I get you in the clinic. I'll use a lot of patient examples. Mary came in, she was, 50 pounds overweight, couldn't walk because her knees were so bad, severe low back pain, cardiovascular problems, thinking there's nothing she could do because she's never been able to get any of this under control. And now she's hurting too bad to do it anyways, had given up, but we began to adjust her. We changed her nutrition. The adjustments got her metabolism kicked in. Suddenly the nutritional changes worked that much better. We started briefly, just for a few minutes at a time on a stationary bike. But today she's 50 pounds lighter. All her pain is gone and she rides her bike 6 miles a day. So if Mary can do it, you can do it. So a lot of affirmation that we can get there. We've got a path to make it happen. And here's all kinds of examples of people just like you that have gotten this result. So it's critical that we do a testimony. The W in clause is the why, my intentions. Because at this point, okay, great. We connected. There's leverage. Now I want to do it. I didn't think I could do this before. Now I feel like I can with the affirmation. But now why? Like, what's this guy doing here? What's the pitch? And for me, if I don't know your why, so I people are pitching me stuff all the time. Like I'm sure all of you watching experience the same thing, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, phone calls coming in, constantly being pitched. So if I see that your intention is simply to sell me something, I'm out. Like I can feel it right away. I can sense it immediately. I can hear your language is manipulative. I'm a hard guy to sell. You don't want me sitting in your office if I don't believe in you. So this why is really critical. We talk about being a mission-based office. This is a C3, a Christ-centered chiropractic training. And so we're coming from a place where God has put us here for the saving of many lives. That's why we're here. And so it's important people understand, here's why I'm here. When I'm talking about my parents as an example, like I've been utilizing so far, I'm telling them that, like, I don't want what happened to my dad to happen to you or to your dad. I don't want what I went through in our family with our dad and our mom, my dad dying, my mom having a stroke, and what that did. Imagine what that did to my baby brother, my middle brother, and I, it destroyed our lives. And so I'm here because I don't want that to happen to you. And I'll have other stories, patient stories from the community of people that have suffered, struggled, just been miserable in their life because they don't have what we do in our clinics. And so that's why I'm out here today. We have a busy practice. It's not like we're here because we need new people to come in. I'm here because I care and my heart is broken for the things that break the heart of God. That's why I'm here. And finally, the S in clause. So the S are the steps. So if you did a great job with the claw, but not the S, and made it claws, then people don't know to take the right steps. And this is something that I did wrong early in my career. Was I figured, okay, well, I've got them closed. So hey, here, sign up. So the steps have to be clear. What exactly are they supposed to be doing? So you have to really walk through, here's what it looks like when you come in the office. We have what we call the triple close at that point. We say, normally it's, to come in, it's $300. Because you're here today, it's only $159. And then I'll talk about what will happen. Like once you've done that, we'll call you, we'll get your appointment set when you come in here into the clinic. Here's what you'll go through. And I'm walking through all of those things, all of those steps. Then we actually go back and say, in fact, this is the triple part of the close. We looked at our schedule before we left, and we actually have several appointments that are open throughout the week. If you can be more flexible with your time, we'll actually, for only $79, you can come in and still get that same thing that we do for new patients normally at $300. Now, if you can't be flexible, I mean, you're still getting half off for being here. Still an amazing opportunity to come in and have your life saved. But if you can be flexible, we can work this out at only $79. And so in doing that, we've really pushed the steps to take and made sure they got written down, got their phone number, set an appointment. I mean, really made sure we got steps done. Because if you miss the S, seen it happen a lot. People come back and say, hey, Dr. Ben, it was great. I'm like, how many new patients? Oh, nobody yet, but a lot of people said they were interested. We passed out our cards. We're just waiting for the phone calls. Yeah, we missed the S. Sometimes, let's say you're selling something online, that S is also really important, where you're walking them through exactly what you have to offer, how to get the offer, click the link, so that S is important, whether online or if we're doing a group and we're talking about, something more they have to do, download the QR code, take a moment to make sure they've done it, walk them through the QR code to get them signed up. So wherever you're doing this, the S has to be clear. Once again, the power of the clause. It really has to do with understanding all of this, going into every single one-on-one or group interaction, knowing exactly what your VIP is. What's that very important product, that outcome that's going to drive the whole clause system, so that we're aimed very specifically with our content out of towards a very distinct outcome. Otherwise, you're just sort of talking and hoping somebody catches something cool and decides to do the thing you wanted them to do, even though the whole process was unintentional. So if you can put this clause piece together here and really make this a consistency in your communication, hopefully you'll learn to enjoy communicating. You'll enjoy putting the structure together. And again, you'll no longer blame yourself that I'm just not as capable as some Superman, other chiropractor that's out there. I'm now skilled. I've got my black belt in the clause and feel that I can move anyone. Remember, we don't move bones, we move people. I can move anyone towards the destination that we want for them, not simply for the sale, but to save their lives, because we are serving God. Bless you, and remember who you are.